What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Open Hat live stream. This is episode 6 in a series where we're creating a drum kit from scratch in Serum 2 and taking you along for the entire trip. So in the last episode, we went over how to make perfect Reese basses. And you can see a live stream where we go over all of the sauce, and there's even a video, a shorter video, if you want to get right to the point. You can click the link in the description below. There's a whole playlist on making a drum kit from scratch, and we got 808s in there. We got snares, claps, hi-hats. Today we're doing open hats, and it's going to be an absolute banger. So I hope you guys are ready. I know I am. I've been preparing for this the last couple days, and it's about to go down for real. So without any further introduction, let's jump in here and go over how to make some amazing sounding hi-hats in Serum. Doesn't matter if you have Serum 2, Serum 1, if you're cracking, whatever you're doing. All right, I'm going to be using Serum 2, but we're only going to be using a noise layer and one of the oscillators. So you can very well do this in pretty much any other synthesizer that you have, any of your favorites. And yeah, it's going to be dope. So let's get these on right here. And guys, if you haven't already, sign up for the free limited time drops. There's a link in the description below. It's like 100% free. Basically, I'm going to be sending you a bunch of samples and presets after these live streams, but they only go out one time. So if you miss it, you miss it. So sign up now and you're on the list and you're good to go. Let me show you a couple of the sounds that we're going to be making today. So you can see I've just made a ton of them, right? So one of the sounds we're going to be making is 7-1 right here. This is more of like a classic sort of an open hat sound. We're also going to be making a metallic shimmer sort of a sound. Okay, this one's going to be 519. Let's check this out. It's got a lot more harmonics to it. And we're also going to be making like I called it a pixel dust open hat as well. That one is right here. In fact, yep. So these are sick. These all work really well in the beat. In fact, let me show you really quick here so that you can tell. Let's take a look at 712. We're gonna make this one first. Sick. So there you have it. Let's open Serum, a fresh instance, and we'll get right into this. Boom. In fact, we're gonna need a MIDI track for this one. Let's get Serum up in here. Welcome to the chat. Go ahead and drop in the chat. What kind of sauce are you using in Serum 2? What's new? There's a ton of amazing new features in Serum 2 that go absolutely insane. And I've been sitting here making a lot of drum sounds, which you don't need to take advantage of multiple oscillators sometimes. Like especially for today, we're going to be using oscillator A and a noise layer and a couple other things as well. Let's go ahead and make this bigger. So yeah, let me know in the chat. Oh, wait, hold on. I was able to make this bigger before. Oh yeah, here we go. It's the right corner. Sick. Yes. That's much better. Okay, cool. Let's get right into this, guys. So the open hat has a lot of harmonics to it, and you might be just tempted to go right into the noise layer and go crazy with that, but there's a little trick. So first, let's get the envelope going, sitting about right. We don't have to have it perfect right now, but I might give it a little hold as well, maybe like 50 seconds. Maybe up to like a minute here. We don't need an attack. Okay, cool. We can go to wave shape 5 right here. You can hear that one's got way more harmonics. We're going to chop out a lot of this using the filter here in a second, so it'll sound way better. You're probably like, wait, what the heck is going on? So what we'll do is we'll actually turn it on right now. We can use the noise because we're going to be using that later. Let's get a high cut though. Maybe like an 18 or 24. You can see we're already getting closer. So here we go. Here is the sauce, is by using the unison. And when you click this button, you can use the range in here too. And you're going to play back and forth with these two, and you're going to get all kinds of crazy results. Also the detune. Now, if you're in Serum 1, I believe this range setting is actually in the matrix or the global. So I have to go in the global here and change it. But in Serum 2, they put it right here. So that's even better. So let's go up to like 7 and let's hear what that sounds like. You can hear as we turn up that detune, it goes from like LFOing like really slow to higher. It gives it more of that metallic sort of a sound that we're chasing. Okay. Now we're going to go in here, and what I've noticed is that we're going to play with the range here. You'll notice that if this is an odd number and you try to put an even number with it, it's going to sound like way off. But if you match that with like a 5, which is also an odd number, it's going to sound a little bit better. So that's something to play around with as well. But in this example, we're going to start off with 2. So breaking my own rules here. And we'll turn this up a bit so you can really hear what's going on. Let's cut out some more of this. We can even bring the resonance up as well. Right around that 6K range is going to sound really good. All right, let's turn on our noise layer now. We're going to blend it in, right? If you want it to be very subtle, that sounds good. I really like the bright white sound in here as well. I think that's in the analog. Let's turn this volume all the way up here. Okay, another thing I want to do is turn down the randomization so that it's always hitting it the same here. Because you'll notice if you're playing around, it'll sound a little bit different on some hits than others. So when you turn that down, that's especially important for like drums and stuff when you're trying to record them out. It can be nice for other things like melodies to give it some like difference in textures and things like that as well. Oh, that's sounding really good. I'm curious if we go in here now and turn this up one. Fire. Okay, now we'll adjust the cutoff and the resonance a little bit more here and drive. There we go. So there is our first one. Very simple. We're going to add on to this and get even crazy here in a second. So at this point, we're going to grab this because we're going to do some mixing at the very end on all of the ones that we create here today. So we're going to make 3. Let's go ahead and get this one bounced out. Well, let's make sure we have this solo though, because I don't want to record everything. We'll also need a MIDI note in here so it knows to play. Perfect. Cool, and you can feel free to play with the shape if you want it to be a little bit longer as well. It's really up to your preference, right? We just did a quick little throw together with the envelope. But if you want to play with the envelope, make it a little longer. Okay, yeah, we got it soloed still. Get more of like a crash sort of a sound if you do something like that. You can also have it descend quicker by pulling this down. So these are things to play with, right? So we got our first one. Fantastic. And we're going to make it sound even cleaner and better afterwards. So now let's work on the second one. So this is going to be more of like a metallic shimmer sort of a sound. And we're keeping things very similar here. So let's jump in. I'll show you the difference in this one. And let's make sure we have this soloed again. So if I were you, I'd be saving each of these along the way. Let's go down to 6. And I believe on this one, we're going to put the range to 7. It's going to give it sort of that inharmonic sound there, which we're going to use later. So let's pull his detune down more. In fact, yeah, we can even pull it all the way down just like that. Sick. And though I'm not sure it's going to make the biggest difference, let's see. I use this J8 one as well. It does. So the noise that you use can make a huge difference. Let's turn this off. Versus the bright white. So. You can hear it has more of that like shimmer sort of effect there. And this one, you can play with the cutoff. You can even put this further. That sounds good. Cool. This one has a lot more of the higher end coming through, the higher end pitch and that shimmer going out as well. So let's go ahead and record this one out. So here's what we have. And don't worry, we're going to be cleaning these up in just a second. The third one I wanted to show you is like the pixel dust one. This one sounds dope as well. We might even make this one a little bit longer too, just for the effect to draw out a little bit more. So let's put this in here. We'll put this to like 60. Okay. You can see as we play with the unison here and going back into the range, you get a lot of different results just by changing, like, we'll go up one. So these are the two things you're going to be playing with back and forth to get all kinds of unique results. And there's a couple FX inside of Serum that are a game changer that we're going to take a look at too. So for this one, I put the range to 2. You can almost hear it like starts to like, it sounds like it's going back and forth. It's wiggling. I think that sounds cool. Let's jump into the FX here. There's 2 FX that are bangers on hi-hats. The first one is phaser, and the second one is the flanger. I'll show you both. Put the flanger and the phaser. For this patch, I ended up using the phaser, so I'll do that one first. Let's turn this one off for the meantime. If you turn up the rate, it's going to go crazy. So if you turn it all the way down, especially on both of these, you can play with the poles and the frequency and come up with some cool stuff. You can hear already, it's adding like a, it sounds like a bell. So it's changing it quite drastically. The different poles too, like this, you can go crazy with this. Like, that one right there has that like shimmer, like a pixie dust, is that what I call it? Pixie dust sort of an effect. And you can play with the frequency as well. And you can find exactly what frequency you want to target. But for this one, I'm happy right at the middle, right in the 600. Let's turn up the feedback though. You can almost hear it starts to sound like a coin's dropping on the ground. It really gives it a lot. And then you can play with the mix here at the end. So either you could pull back on the feedback, go with something like that, or you can make it even more subtle by playing with the mix. Sick. Let's go back over here. I might want to chop out a little more. That sounds cool. We'll record this out, and then I'm going to show you guys the flanger as well, because the flanger is dope. Yo, what's good, Awesome Sauce Boss? Yeah, I appreciate that. The 808 kit hat, and that's like one of the most popular sounds ever, so that's exactly what we're going for. And as you can see, this is how they're doing it. Well, maybe back then they had, you know, the hardware to do it, but in Serum... Okay, so let's go back, because I also want to show you guys the flanger, right? That's the phaser. And you can play with this frequency, and what you'll notice, and here, I'll show you this really quick. This is awesome. I always say you need to be versioning everything. So anytime you're like, oh, that sounds cool, maybe that's usable, save it and move on. So you can see in this new kit here, it'll say like 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It'll keep going because these are like minor increments, right? You can see that one was an accident because it recorded that sound. And I believe that's because I switched presets and I hit record before it was fully like ready to go. So it gave it that little effect. So you see I have all these variants and they're just a little bit different than each other. So that's why you want to do this, is now I can go back to a beat that I have and I can try all of them out and I can say, okay, this one works. This one doesn't sound as good as I thought it would. Get rid of them and I can further mix and refine the ones that I like even better. So that's why you want to do that. Okay, back to phaser, excuse me, flanger, because we already used the phaser. And you could use them both together as well. Don't think you can't. Let's turn this on now. You can hear it right there. See when we first turned on it going wing? That's how the accident thing happened. Ready? Okay, I didn't do it that time, but you caught it the first time. So this is cool. You got really two things here you can play with. I mean, you could play with the phase if you want to mess with that, but the depth and the feedback, you get a lot of results doing this. So let's turn this down. You could turn the feedback up. Even that's a cool effect. And like I said, make sure you're versioning everything. I want to record that. I think that sounds fire too. So we're going to do it. But yeah, I can get so many cool results just by messing with the feedback a little bit. In fact, you could pretty much just leave it up depending on how much you want. So definitely play around with the flanger and the phaser when you're making these open hats, because you can get some solid results. Now, what if we combine them, in fact? Let's put this all the way down. Maybe we'll even bring the mix down and... That sounds cool, so we'll go ahead and record that out as well. But if you're in Serum, you should be saving all these too. Saving the presets, the patches, so you can go back. All right, we got a couple open hats that sound fire. And we'll go back to Serum one more time, so just that I can show you guys exactly all the little things you can tweak to make these different, right? Small, minor tweaks make a huge difference in the sound of these things. So the phaser and flanger, right? Go crazy with them. These are amazing. Also, distortions, right? That's always going to work fantastic. And feel free to try out some of the other ones, but these ones work great, especially for bringing in those harmonics we're looking for. You can try playing around with different shapes. However, I've gotten the best results with this. Like if we try another one, it doesn't sound as loud. It doesn't have as much harmonics. See, they work, so you can definitely play around with them and see, but this one, in my opinion, sounds great, and a lot of people have used this one as well. Other things you can play with, the unison and the range. So, bring this down to 0. That's a really sharp tone. That sounds like an alarm clock or something. It almost sounds like it's buzzing. So you can play with the range and go crazy. That's kind of cool too. Also the detune, you can dial that in, right? It's normally going to be like this. That's an interesting sound. However, that too, I like how that sounds the most. So those two are the biggest right there. And then different white noises, right? The different white noises have small differences. This is a chorusy white noise, I believe. You might want to turn the level up too. That's coming just from the noise, but that's because we have these two FX on. And these FX are adding a lot. So let's turn these off really quick. There we go. Turn this on. Let's try like these ones too. So you'll get different sort of effects, and mixing them together is perfect. So, ooh, there's even some color. Oh, interesting. I don't know if I played with these Geiger. So that can be a cool one too. That sounds good. But even just white, pink, or brown noise. You can see just by changing those have a different ring to them. And then the cutoff. How much of the harmonics do you want to leave in, or the lower harmonics? Now, another thing you can keep in mind is you have this filter, and then we can EQ it after the fact too. So if you're leaving in like if you hear a little bit of something you're not a big fan of, don't worry. As long as it mostly sounds good, we can chop out that little bit that doesn't sound right. Right? Okay, so now that we have that, let's talk about how we can mix these even further. There's a couple different plugins that I like to use for mixing these, and there's no limit to this. I want to show you guys a free one first and foremost. This is an absolute banger. I found this in another video. I saw someone using it. And then we'll go into the EQ after that. So let's jump in. Okay, so I recommend you guys download all of these, because once I saw this, and then the fact that they're free, it's like, bruh, how are you not? Spectral audio. So if you go to Spectral plugins, you can probably just search this on Google as well. Let me make sure I pull OBS back up here so we're all good. Perfect. We're going to be using this one here today, which is a multi-band transient shaper. It's fantastic for getting different... Well, here, let's read it. It's a powerful multi-band transient shaper clipping tool, precise waveform analyzer, and additional tone manipulation effects. So this is great for sound design and things like that. They have some other ones. This one's more of like a reverb. It's got multiple reverbs in one device. And this is like a cassette, sort of a tape emulation sound. But we're going to be using this one today. These are all free, by the way. I believe they are not making their plugins anymore, or they're not continuing to update them. So that's why they're all free. Panks, however you say that, banger. That's what we're going to use here first. And we're just going to work on one of them for now. So let's just pull this first one down here. Sick. So if we bring this in, it's a crazy name. Not Pancake. There's actually some presets in here that sound great out of the box, especially for hi-hats and open hats. So let's jump into maybe like hat snap. So if we turn it off, you can hear it's doing a lot to that transient as well. And you can bring more of that in or less of that in over here. You can bring down the threshold, which I want it to be just like right at that attack point. I'll turn down the mix a little bit too. You can hear that really adds to the body of it. So that's the first one. Let's go ahead and freeze and flatten this because my thing is going crazy. So we're going to bounce this in place. In fact, what we should do first is save a copy. So now we'll bounce it in place, so we know where we came from. So we went from this to that. And you can hear it brought a lot more of the tones and sounds out, and it filled it up even better. Next, we're going to EQ it. Whatever EQ you like. I'm using Pro Q3. And this, what we're going to do is we're going to chop out a lot of the lows, anything we don't want, but we're going to look for individual like frequencies that we want to boost or get out. And let me tell you, I can hear some stuff already. So we're just going to start sweeping. I do not want that in there, so you can hear that got rid of it quite drastically. Let's push this down. And then if there's anything you want to boost as well, we can... And also we're going to chop out some of the highs because it's a little harsh. Right around 16K. And this is adding a lot of gain, so let's pull this down a bit. You can hear we removed a lot of that tone stuff that we didn't like in here. And you can go in here and manipulate this as much as you want. Let's see. That sounds pretty dang good. Cool, I'm duplicating it so we can bounce this one in place, and we're always keeping that backup, right? Bouncing this in place. Boom. Let's delete this off of here. Sick. So we went from this to this to this. It's coming along quite a bit. So you could just stop there and you could be like, that's dope. Maybe you want to play with the transients a little bit. Maybe you want to shape it using some shaping plugins, or pull it in a beat and start listening to it. But some other plugins that work really great, Decimort, right? Any bit crushing plugins that you like. I'm a big fan of Decimort though. Let's duplicate this now instead of later. Let's find Decimort. Decimort is just so fire, especially for sound design and hi-hats, different things like this where you might want to degrade the sound. And if you just want to go through presets, you can do that as well. I think it's always good to go through the presets, find something that's close, and either it's good or maybe you want to play with it a little bit more to get it perfect. So that sounds good. That's crazy. It's funny, some of these presets are bringing some of that crap back, right? This one? That one sounds cool. Let's see what else we got. Wimpy beats. Definitely wimpy. I kind of liked how some of these. Subtle degradation. So there you go. That is another one. Let's bounce that. And you might be like, you know what? I don't like how that Decimort sounded. I think it sounded really great after we did the EQ. Well, the good thing is we saved each version of this so you can go back and do that, right? Because it's hard to know when you're in sound design mode, right? When you're just sitting here tweaking little things for hours on end, you might be like, oh, this sounds so dope. Let me save it. When in reality, you go to try to use it in a beat, and yeah, it sounds dope, but it just doesn't work in the beat. It's got a weird harmonic. Things aren't shaping and working how you want, so it's always great to do these little versionings and keep everything along the way. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bounce all these out. Well, they're already bounced. You can show it in Finder and save it all in a folder, and then you go back later. And you can see that's what I did here with all these different numbers. And obviously I went crazy with it, but you get the idea, right? You gotta go crazy. You gotta find every little thing that you can, try everything, and come up with something fantastic. That one's horrible, so. Yeah, so I would go between these two, but this one is obviously quieter. So now let's consolidate them. We'll consolidate these two, bring them both up to 0 so we can actually compare them. Because one might be louder and you might think it sounds better just because it's a little bit louder. Yeah, you can see that one was 2 decibels louder. Yeah, I think that sounds really good. Okay, and then your last result here. Wait, let's hear some of these other ones too. I really like this one as well. Let's play with this one a little bit. Bring this one down. Let's bring in that pansy, however you want to say it. And I showed you the hat snap preset in here as well, but there's some other presets that are good as well. I believe there's another hi-hat one too. Hi-hat clarity. Let's hear this. That's crazy. So you might want to play with the threshold. Play around with that a little bit. The hat snap though. This is loud. That sounds fire. Let's pull the mix down a little bit. Bounce it. That new feature is dope in Ableton 12. Shout out to that. From there, we do a little bit of EQing. Get the Pro Q3 in here again. And I'm using these AUs because they're supposed to take less CPU. Just a little note tip for you. Let's chop out some of those very highs here. There's some strong notes in this one. That's just gonna make it super high end, super sharp, and you might want to take that out a little bit. Damn, I didn't even hear that. That's horrible. Let's definitely take that out. Yeah, a lot of this stuff can go down too. Clean it up a little bit, and you could always put another EQ on it. Do it again. That sounds fire. Now this hi-hat in particular is a little bit longer, so you could shape it, make it a little bit shorter, or you could leave it like that, or it could be like a crash, or it could be an in-between. It could be an in-between of like a crash and an open hat. Let's try this one in context here. Let's bring this down so we know which one it is. I'm gonna turn all these off. Okay, we don't need Serum anymore. Okay, cool. We could get this open hat right here and drag this one in. Boom. All right, cool. Now let's go back here. So we're ending it short because of the MIDI here. But you could also tail it out with the one-shot mode, and you could even use the fades here too. That's cool. Let's turn it down a little bit more. You can also play with the pitch as well. So there you have it. That is the OpenHat sauce. Now let's go through some plugins that would also be good for sound design, because I know that's like, it's huge, right? You can start with something good like this, but if you want to get really unique with it, it's all about the extra little things that you're doing afterwards. So we use the phaser and the flanger inside of Serum, but there's also solo plugins that are phasers and flangers, and those would work just as good. The bit crushers, we took a look at that as well. You could even add some like chorus or something like that if you wanted to add a little width into it. Or if you want this to be more mono, you could also mono it by using like a utility, Ableton's utility here. When you mono it though, any like left or right, like here, let's you can see it better if we take a look at the actual lane. You can see it, the left side's hitting a little bit higher. As soon as you put it into mono, that's something good to play with as well. It almost sounds cleaner when we do that. Now, if you want it, if you don't want to like completely put it in mono, you could just remove some of the width here too. Oh man, this punctuate right here by Newfangled Audio, this is one I've started to play with a lot lately. This is also a transient shaping plugin, but it goes extremely deep. Now that other one, that Pinks one, that does a lot more. Like it plays with the tone of it, the frequencies, you can play with that and change it up. This one is more of just like going nitty gritty into the transients. And as you can see, this might look a little bit scary, right? It's like, what the heck? There's also some dope presets in here. I don't know that I've actually gone through many of these. Drum bus, crispy drums. In fact, we gotta solo this because there's no way we're gonna be able to tell. Stop. Let's go back to normal. This plugin just gets so deep, it's actually crazy. If you want, you can pick the number of bands here. For something like this, maybe we only do 8, and you can pick the range, right? If there's a certain range, you want to specify that here. Otherwise, you can just keep it evened out like this. And then when you go into the transient, you can boost the transient at different levels for each of those ranges. So I don't know if much is going to come through in the low end here. Because what is this? 0 to 400? Oh yeah, so it should. You can tell those ones are going to be way more noticeable. So that's sick. There's also this adaptive transient, which sometimes I just leave off. I'll just put it right here. And same with the adaptive length, because it's going to change out on the fly for you. You have the transient length. This thing is so dope because it allows, like here, let's put it all the way up. That's funny, we actually have this chopped up, but now let's put it all the way down. And now you're listening at the transient, right? Yeah, it's a lot longer there. And then the emphasis, right? Do you want to suppress the transient, or do you want to make it even more, or just leave it as it is? Obviously, if you're using a transient plugin, you probably want it to be emphasized all the way. That sounds way better. Yeah, because we needed to boost the transient a little bit on this one. You can notice when it's hitting those 2 notes, when it's ding, ding, it kind of gets lost. You can't really tell because the initial transient of this thing isn't really pushing. So adding something like this is a very high, like a very detailed transient shaper, but any transient shaper works fine. There's so many good ones. Distortions is another big one, right? Any of your favorite distortions can sound amazing, or saturators, just to play with the audio even more. Yeah, besides that, you know, anything that can add some different tones or anything in it, like EQs. We talked about the phasers and flangers. Like Ableton has some stock plugins too. Let's go over here. Like the resonators. Those can be fantastic as well if you want to get into that. Ableton also has, where is it at here? We didn't even talk about reverbs too. Those go absolutely nuts. So, I mean, the possibilities are endless. You just got to figure out what sound you want and then just start going from there, right? Start building off of that. This would be crazy. You really have to dial this in. Oh, damn. Did I even hear it? Let's turn it up all the way. It's doing something. We have to maybe turn this up a little bit. Now, I'm just picking random crap in here, and I turned the volume way down, but if you really play with this, you can dial in some more resonance. We'll put the width here as well. Resonators are fantastic, so let me put on a rift here too, a little distortion. And you'll notice, like with the Southside 808, let me find it really quick. The open hat, the Southside open hat. Gotta spell it right though. Or what is it? The 808 open hat, 808 Mafia. Yeah, something like that. You can hear there's definitely distortion in there. Bringing that sound, just flattening that sound. So let's hear this. Turn this up. Whoa. That's actually hilarious. That's the soft wave shape. What if we did something like this, the noise? You could add even more noise to them. That's cool. What I would do from here is put probably a Pro Q3 in here again. And is this the one we transposed? Yeah. You can hear it introduced a lot in that range. In fact, let me see this really quick. That CPU is going crazy right now. Sick. Let's go ahead. So that's what I would put on here. We can actually copy this now that we know it sounds good. You know, we'd want to... In fact, from here, since we also shaped it, what you can do now, like once you hear it in the beat, you've shaped it, you've done all that, you might be like, well, now I gotta go redo this. What you could do is you could duplicate the track if you wanted to. Otherwise, you just go in here, pick the C, loop it all the way out, because you wanna resample this to C. And either you freeze and flatten it if you're not worried about the track, or if you want to save the track, you can just put this to resampling, arm it, and press record. Put this off, no input. And from here, we're going to consolidate it. You can turn this up a little bit. Not that loud, damn. Actually, let me pull out that, yeah, this south side one. You can kind of look at the waveform too and kind of like tell what's going on. You can see this one's going to be panned a little bit, or they played with the phasing of it, but it's looking pretty dang close besides the length. That's another good thing. If you're trying to get to a certain sample, like you want to get something similar, pulling that out, looking at it, listening to it, and then going back in Serum and adjusting from there, or using different plugins for mixing and things like that. What's good, Levin? How's it going? Yeah, no, Vital's perfectly fine, especially if you can't afford Serum. Vital can do pretty much all the same stuff. Now, Serum 2 is different, right? It added so much different stuff. You can't really compare any other synth to it now. You can get close, but it's absolutely bomb. But yeah, Vital is perfectly fine, especially for sound designing drums and different things like this, where you only really need 1 or 2 oscillators, right? Let's hear this. There's a lot more tone in ours than in this one. And in this one, I believe it's pretty much all white noise with a tiny little bit of that tone. So we're adding in a lot more tone than white noise in our example here. So you'd want to create it a little bit differently. But even then, let's bring in another Pro Q3. And we'll just play with it ever so slightly. And one other thing you might want to consider is when you're freezing, flattening this, or resampling it, changing this mode from natural phase to linear phase. And you can pick like high, very high, maximum, depending on that. And that's going to just cut even more, do an even better job. That sounds fire, I'm not going to lie. Let's do exactly what I just said. Let's open it back up because we're making some crazy cuts right now. I'm going to put this into linear phase, maximum. Now, if I try to press play on this right now, the computer is going to go nuts because the CPU is already at almost 70. So we're going to avoid that. And we're just going to straight up bounce that mofo. We're getting pretty dang close right there, but as you can see, this is sounding fire. I'm going to keep this one for real. So from here, you're going to make sure to consolidate it. Here's some little cleanup before you commit it. We'll consolidate it. You can bring it up to 0. Might be a little loud. And you can, there's some like peaks in here that I might try to like cut off. You could use a limiter, a clipper, anything like that. I might even bring that Pink Z plugin back in here. Play with that a little bit more to kind of neutralize some of those harsh ends. And keep playing with this and refining it. Putting it in your beats, using it in your beats. This is why everyone should learn sound design, because sound design is great, but you want to be using the sounds you make in your beats so you can further refine them, and you're just going to learn more and more and more about it. Once you're done, you're going to bounce that in place, and now it's done. Like, you're happy to go. You can find it in the folder and start using it in your beats. Let's turn this down. We're going to put the transposition back to normal. In fact, I'm going to keep this for later because I like how this one sounds. Ooh, that sounds fire right out the box. All right. Something simple like that. Bring all the velocities, make sure they're all the same. We're gonna turn this way the heck down. One thing that I like to do with some of my samples as well, where do we put that? Right here. Check this out. Especially for hi-hats and open hats, this can be a gem. Just put a little bit at the beginning, right? So let me do this. So what we can do is I'm just going to take those 3 at the beginning here. We'll do this and we're going to consolidate it. Command J or Control J. And that's just going to introduce some space at the beginning. Now, why is this useful? If we drag it in here, that little space at the beginning can actually give us more rhythm. And you can choose how much of it you want. Obviously, we kind of did a little too much there. But I wanted to show you. I wanted to be crazy. So let's turn this off again. Right? Maybe not that drastic, but a little bit goes a long way. And you could even fade it in from here, too. Add a little bit of tack. Let's start at the beginning, not 3 off. There you have it. I think we transposed it in the original. What do we go up to? That's fire. So there you go. That's how you can make open hats in Serum, further refine it, and make that shit a banger. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Guys, make sure to sign up below because you're going to be getting like all these samples and presets and everything that I've been making over the last couple days. It's free. Sign up using the link below. If you guys want to see how to make any other drum sounds, I probably have a tutorial on it already. In fact, I have a list over here. There's only a couple more to make. This series is going to come to an end soon. We've done claps, snares, hi-hats. We just did open hat. We've done 808s. We've done respaces and different basses. We have live streams, or we have shorter, more concise videos. The live streams go into more detail, and the shorter videos just get right to the point. So that's the purpose of that. And if you want to check that out, it's all in the playlist below. But thank you guys so much for coming through. I appreciate all of you. Shout out to you guys. I appreciate Levin. Awesome sauce boss. Appreciate you guys for coming through and sharing some tips in the chat. And we're going to catch you guys again in the next episode coming up real soon. We'll catch you then. Peace out, fam. Have a great weekend. Later.